Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Cities for Democracy and Innovation Virtual Summit. I'm Mina Koja, and I'm honored to welcome you here today as both the organizer and the moderator of this important gathering today. Today is Europe Day, a day that we celebrate peace, unity, and shared values across our continent, Europe. But this is more than a summit. It's a moment of solidarity for us today. We are joining across from different cities, different countries, different disciplines, communities today to reflect on a very powerful truth. That cities that we live in, they are not just places that we live, but they are the spaces that we shape together. So today is the day of unity and being together. And here we are going to see how democracy is going to be practiced every day in the cities through participation, through innovation, and through community. And here we are today, when we are having our values tested really during these days. As many of you know, here in Istanbul is a city of history, energy, and endless possibilities. We are facing a period where democracy and the democratic governance, transparency, and local autonomy are under increasing pressure. This summit is a response to that. It is a call not only to stand with Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu and other local leaders facing the unjust treatment, but also to celebrate the courage of cities that continue to lead with care, creativity, and conviction. So I want to take a moment to express my deepest thanks to our partners at Eurocities who will be here with us today and whose ongoing support for cities and democratic collaboration made this event today possible. And to all the mayors and city representatives who accepted our invitation to speak today. Thank you for lending your voices, your time, and your leadership. And to those mayors and colleagues who wanted to be with us today, we had so many mayors who expressed their gratitude and wanted to be with us today, but could not attend due to their full agendas. Your support is felt here deep in our hearts, and we are grateful for your solidarity. So throughout the next 2.5 hours, we will be here for 2.5 hours. At the end, we will have a bonus session. So please wait until the end for the bonus session as well. We will be hearing from our mayors, from our activists, academia, change makers, the youth, and all about how to protect our democratic ideals, how to use the civic innovation, civic action, and to build resilient communities, strengthen our global alliances and the city diplomacy. And we will also experience an amplification of the voices through youth, citizens, and future generations. Here, together, we will reimagine what local leadership can look like and what democracy can become when it is built from ground up. So thank you for being here, for everyone who's here and watching us live and maybe watch us later during the day. Now it's my pleasure and honor to invite the Secretary General of Eurocities to the stage, Andre Sobczak.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And it's a great honor and a great pleasure for me to welcome you all to the Cities for Democracy and Innovation Virtual Summit. It's indeed a very important event on Europe Day, and it's very symbolic that we have chosen Europe Day to co-organize with the municipality metropolitan area of Istanbul and Eurocities to co-host and organize this important summit. Over the last 2 years, under the leadership of Eurocities president, the mayor of Leipzig, Burkhard Jung, who unfortunately could not be with us this morning, democracy has become a key element of our priority at Eurocities. Eurocities, the network that brings together more than 220 large European cities. And indeed, we have been very active on defending democracy. Last year, during our annual summit that took place in Cluj-Napoca, we adopted the values that unite us, that underline the importance of democracy, the rule of law, and human rights. And this was in particular an initiative that was launched by our vice president, the mayor of Ghent, Matthias de Klerk, who will join us later. Months ago, we also hold a high-level conference in Leipzig, in the city of our president, Burkhard Jung, on local democracy. And we shared with political leaders from all over Europe about the different initiatives that are taking place currently in many, many cities. And also we were openly discussing all the different threats that are taking place. And we adopted a very ambitious declaration. And I think that several of the mayors this morning will refer to the examples and the exchanges that we had in this case. And of course, Eurocities has been very vocal when it comes to mayors that are threatened by national governments. And in particular, we have been so to support the mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is a good friend of Eurocities, a member of Eurocities, and we have been there from the very beginning. I remember very well that in December 2022, we had a delegation led at that time by our president of that time, the mayor of Florence, Dario Nadella, where we came to Istanbul when there was the first court that had decided that he was not applying all the different rules. And we were speaking up, saying that this was a political process and not something that should be accepted. And then 2 months ago, when he was arrested again, we spoke up very quickly with our president and our vice president. We adopted a declaration that today has been signed by more than 80 mayors from all over Europe, where we clearly ask the Turkish government to immediately release Ekrem İmamoğlu and all the other political leaders in Turkey that are under arrest, and to make sure that democracy is defended. So I'm very happy that we have so many different speakers that will intervene today, and to underline again that on Europe Day, we don't forget about the situation. We have full support for the mayor of Istanbul and all the other political leaders that are under threat. And we want to highlight indeed that there can be a different model, a model where Europe is indeed more democratic. And at Eurocities, we think that a more democratic Europe starts in cities. Thanks a lot for being with us, and I'm looking forward to many interesting discussions.
Mr. Sobczak, it was great honor to have you here. And I would like to again express my gratitude to all the Eurocities members and your team. Your support has been really valuable for us during this period, and during also putting together this important event today. So I am now checking if we have our Secretary General from Istanbul Municipality, Metropolitan Municipality. I think we don't have him here yet. In the meantime, if you don't mind, can we talk about the mission of Eurocities so that our viewers can also have a better idea? Because today is a day to celebrate the Europe Day as well. It's a significant day. And there's a reason why we are doing this important event on this day, on this significant day. Can you tell us a bit about Eurocities and why it was established and the significance of it? Can you tell us about Eurocities and why it was established and the significance of it?
Yes, of course. Eurocities has been established 40 years ago by a group of large European cities. And since then, we are doing a lot in order to make sure that Europe becomes more sustainable, more competitive, and more inclusive and more democratic. So we do this by organizing exchange among the different members. So as I said, we have more than 220 members from all over Europe, and not only the European Union. We have a lot of members in Turkey, we have members in the Balkans, we have members in Ukraine, for example, where we also show a lot of solidarity, and we kept also our members from the UK when they decided to leave the European Union. We organize exchanges about challenges and successes from cities to inspire each other and to learn from each other. Then we do a lot of advocacy work. So we work with the European institutions to make sure that the needs and expectations of cities are integrated in European policies, and also that the European Union gives funding to cities to implement innovative policies. And then also we develop more and more training activities to support our cities in implementing ambitious policies. And as I described a little bit earlier, traditionally, we have been working a lot on climate, for example, over the last years to make sure that cities can adapt to climate change, but also reduce, of course, climate emissions, CO2 emissions, and to become climate neutral as soon as possible. We have been working a lot on inclusion, how cities can welcome newcomers in their cities and make sure that the differences between the different citizens are becoming smaller, to have the possibility for everybody to grow in the different cities. We are working a lot on mobility, on culture, and so on. But over the last years, indeed, democracy has also become a more and more important topic in our debates. And we are working, for example, on a project that is called Nets for Them, where we have discussions about innovative practices from cities in the field of democracy to make sure that citizens are involved in decision-making processes. And I think that these kind of innovations can inspire other cities and also hopefully the national level and the European Union itself.
I really appreciate it, and we have been seeing the importance of the cities in building the democracy from ground up. And we also thank you again for the declaration of 75 cities signing a declaration to support Ekrem İmamoğlu during the first day. I really appreciate it. We will be hearing more from you during our third panel. So thank you for being with us, and thank you for all the support from Eurocities. Thank you, Mr. Subject. Okay, now I would like to call on to the stage the Secretary General of Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, Professor Dr. Volkan Demir. Mr. Volkan, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let's try again. Okay, we can hear you. I think we started hearing you, but let's try again. If you can hear us, can you unmute? Okay, now we can hear you. Yes, perfect. Hello, and thank you for being with us today. And I would like to give you the stage for the opening remarks from the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality as one of the co-hosts of this remarkable event today.
Thank you. Just a minute. Okay. Esteemed participants, distinguished colleagues, it's a true honor to address you on this significant occasions, Europe Day, a day that not only commemorates the founding ideals of peace and unity in Europe, but also challenges us to renew our shared commitment to democracy, human dignity and solidarity, and every level of governance. As the Secretary General of the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, I bring you the greetings of our citizens and of our mayor, Mr. Ekrem İmamoğlu, whose visions for democratic and inclusive local governance has become a source of inspiration for millions, not only in Turkey, but across the continent. Innovation and inclusion are at the heart of our city's democratic transformation. Under Mayor İmamoğlu's leadership, Istanbul has embraced technology and digital solutions as tools to expand civil participation, increase transparency, and deliver public services more equitably. Demonstrating the power of these efforts, Tech Istanbul, our flagship startup program, was recently crowned global winner in the Best Accelerator category at the Global Startup Awards, highlighting Istanbul's fast-growing influence on the global innovation stage. From smart transportation systems to open data platforms, from participatory budgeting initiatives to digital hubs for young entrepreneurs, innovation has not been an abstract goal, it has been a vital for justice and inclusion. We have sought to make sure no voice is left unheard, especially those historically pushed to the margins. Whether through youth assemblies, women's councils, or neighborhood forums, IMM has built a local governance ecosystem where technology amplifies participation and shared ownership over the city's future. But today, I must also speak to you with a sense of deep concern. On March 19, Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, the elected representative of 16 million Istanbulis and the presidential candidate of Turkey's main opposition party, was arrested in a politically motivated case. This was not an isolated incident. It followed years of judicial harassment, ranging from the deletion of his university diploma to fabricated accusations linking him to organized crime and terrorism, none of which stand up to legal scrutiny. Let me be clear. These are not acts of justice. They are acts of repression. His arrest is a direct attack on democratic choice, on the will of the people, and on the future of local self-governance in Turkey. It sends a chilling message not only to the elected officials, but also to millions of citizens who believe in change through democratic means. The blocking of Mayor İmamoğlu's social media account, followed by nearly 10 million people, was another stark reminder that the silencing of democratic voice now extends to the digital public sphere. Yet, despite these pressures, the mayor and his close colleagues, many of whom face similar investigations or restrictions, remain determined. From his cell, he continues to raise his voice for justice, pluralism, and freedom. And we, his colleagues in the municipality, continue to serve our people with professionalism and dignity. The work of building a better, more just Istanbul has not stopped. It will not stop. Mayor İmamoğlu's legacy is one of resilience and visionary leadership. He has pioneered initiatives like B14 Balkan Cities Network, uniting more than 7 local governments across the region for cooperation on climate, culture, inclusion, and peace. He has ensured Istanbul is not just a participant, but a leader in global city networks like Eurocities, C40, UCLG, and Metropolis. He has shown that cities can be global actors even when national governments falter. Today, Istanbul stands for a governance model that is decentralized, citizen-driven, and innovation-led. A model that believes in subsidiarity, not only as a legal principle, but as a moral imperative, and a model that resists authoritarian interference, not with despair, but with determination. We are grateful for the strong solidarity shown by Eurocities and its members. Your visits to Istanbul, your public statements, and your continued engagement have shown that Eurocities do not stand idly by in the face of injustice. You have reminded us that democracy is not merely a domestic affair, it is a shared responsibility. Dear colleagues, Europe Day is not just a date, it is a commitment to uphold the values that bind us together. At Istanbul, we reaffirm that commitment. We will continue to innovate, we will continue to serve, and we will continue to fight for justice, for freedom, and for democracy. Thank you.
Dr. Volkan, thank you very much for your opening remark. It's really a special day for us, and it was great to have you. We were honored to have you here, and we are with you in this cause and with the Eurocities and all the mayors supporting us today. And this shows that the solidarity is here. So for sure, you're not alone, and we are together in this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now is the time to kick off our panels. In the first panel, I will be inviting three mayors. They have been a strong supporter in this cause, and they were kind enough to lend their voices today. So I would like to call onto the stage the Oslo governing mayor, Eirik La Solberg, Mayor of Sofia, Vasil Terziev, and Mayor of Ghent, Matthias de Klerk.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hello. How are you? Thank you so much. I know how busy you are on this day. It's the Europe Day. You have so many things and on your agendas, and you were kind enough to come today to join us on this special day. So thank you once again. I would like to kick off our conversation with asking you, what are your unique political and cultural contexts, and what does it mean when I ask you, about the democracy at the local level, at your city level? Mr. Terziev, let's start with you.
Sure. First, happy Europe Day to you all. I think it's as was said before, it's not just a day, it's a commitment that we all have to uphold and strive forward to do more together and to fight every day for some specific values that we know they are central and that they work. And that's part of our big battle. Building a working democracy, getting close to citizens, and ensuring that their voice is heard. And as I mentioned before, democracy is a pretty expensive form of governance, but the best one we've seen. Yet it requires daily work, and it requires proximity to citizens. So in my belief, it all starts with the leadership at the top, that we must ensure that we don't live in an ivory castle, but that we are close to the people, to the citizens, that we understand their problems, and that we consistently strive to build the tools to make sure that we are not disconnected from their reality, because this often happens, unfortunately. So as a city, our efforts are focused on exactly this, making sure that we build the systems through which we hear citizens, that we involve them in key aspects such as urban planning, as related to issues in the specific neighborhoods, and that we empower citizens and the people closest to them, the district mayors, to be able to solve the daily challenges, and that we, the big municipality, are just a central accelerator to their efforts. But it all starts with the respect that you cannot of those people, that you cannot make decisions in isolation. And that's something that really starts within the team. And our focus is to always remind ourselves on a daily basis, because, you know, it's the intellectual challenge of how you solve problems, of the systems you build, of the processes, of how you fund your strategic goals. But it all starts with us being humble and remembering why we took this job, and that we are here to serve. So it's the mindset in every single person in the municipality that really is my focus, because that's how we will have a working democracy. The rest is intellectual challenges that we will solve, but how we think about our role in the university and what are the values and what is the price to pay for those values is the central question. The rest is easier to figure out.
You just like spoke to my heart, because being a servant leader is really the key. And you're like, if you are there to serve the public and remember why you were elected, that's really the key. I'm so glad to hear it from you. So Mayor Solberg, what is it in your case? What does it mean to have the democracy at the local level in your city?
At the basic level, it does mean that we include citizens in decisions. I mean, yes, we do it through elections, but we do it as we go forward between elections as well. And to do that, you need to listen to the needs of the citizens. You have to involve them as much as possible in the decision-making process. And you need to explain why you suggest a certain policy action. And of course, there will be public debate about that. That's exactly what democracy is about. So openness, transparency, accountability, I think, are the main key words there. I'd like to point out, use an example. Right now, we're having a discussion in Oslo on the number of schools we are going to have in the years to come, because unfortunately, we're having a drop in the young population, so that we have too many schools compared to the number of students or pupils. And so we now started a process with the Agency of Education has set out a suggestion to close down a certain number of schools and restructure others. And that is a public proposal that's now on a public hearing. Citizens can, of course, give their response to it. And there is a lot of engagement, naturally, because people are dead against losing their schools. They're against restructuring. Some people also support what they think is a more sustainable school structure in the future. And once that public hearing is over, we will collect all the input and reevaluate, and then make a decision and then make a proposal to the city council. So that's one example of how you involve citizens. And it certainly has a political cost, because people are very annoyed, sometimes angry, that you are suggesting that their local schools should be shut down. But that's part of democracy, and you just have to face it and live with it. And I'd like to finish off by saying Happy Europe Day, and thanking Dr. Demir for his excellent introduction.
Thank you. And this was a great example. This is like, how we listen to our people, because like without listening, you will never know what they want. And sometimes, as you mentioned, I mean, you cannot make everyone happy, but it's democracy. So democracy is sometimes like not making everyone happy, but just like making sure that it's working for the good of the city, for that purpose. I think we lost Mayor de Klerk. Let me see if he's here. No, okay. I think we will have him back. So it was a great example. Mayor Terziev, do you have any examples where you are listening the public, and where you had some initiatives that was driven by the public need, by the public voice, and that you put it into practice in your city?
Yeah, Just adding on what Mayor Solberg said, I do believe that democracy starts with being ready to have the difficult conversations and to have them at the right time, at the right place. And it also means that you have to educate citizens about what's the best way to engage. Many of the things that we are doing are in that respect. We try to make much of the data that was previously not accessible in terms of urban planning, in terms of financial data, one, accessible, and two, understandable, and three, helping citizens understand how to use that data in the process. When is the right time to get engaged in the urban planning process, so what they have to say really matters, and not really being upset at the end after a decision is made and cannot be really turned. And that's what we've been doing. In terms of other practical things that we are doing, other than having public hearings on many topics, having consultative councils, which always have the NGOs and the citizens on a myriad of city topics so that they can express their voices. We also launched participatory budgets where the citizens decide how funds should be used and which projects should be funded. And this year we're doubling the amount that's going to be used for those purposes because it's the basics of civil governance that really show people how to be more involved, how the administrative process works, how difficult it is to go from idea to its concrete realization. But being involved and having actual money to work with and actual projects really allows us to also focus on the educational side. And that, coupled with our efforts to build a data platform where we open up pretty much anything that is legally possible to do so, and teach people how to use it intelligently, plus our efforts on the digital front to bring all of the key services in the pocket of every person from the city, starting from signals and issues to parking, to debates, to what's being done in my neighborhood, to when there's going to be an outage, really allows us to get closer to citizens so that we can have those honest conversations, the hard ones.
It's really important to manage those hard conversations too, and I think that's where leadership steps in. And it's because of your leadership you hear the voices, yeah, and you put them into practice. I would like to now come to the topic of solidarity because, and okay, we have Mayor de Clercq. Can you hear us now, Mayor de Clercq? Mayor de Clercq? I think he cannot hear us. Okay, so when we talk about solidarity and the alliances like Eurocities, B40, so Mayor Tarziev, you're also the president this year, you're the current president of B40, which was an initiative started by our Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu. So it's really an honor to have you here as being the current president of B40 as well. How do you see that solidarity, those alliances? And let me start with Mayor Solberg first, and then I will come to you, Mayor Tarziev. How do you see these alliances working during these hard times? The city alliances, the solidarity, and the support that you are giving among yourselves.
I think my view is that they're extremely important. Certainly, to have a personal relationship with mayors from other European cities is important, and having that relationship, having some areas where we have cooperated in the past, and also makes it easier to step up and show solidarity when democracy is under threat, as this is the case in Istanbul, where the mayor is imprisoned. And I think that the action knew each other made it easier to come out with an emotional support, not just a formal support. And I believe, especially in the current political international climate, where governments sometimes do not represent the response that should have been a strong democratic response, it is even more important that cities do it. And we've talked a lot in Eurocities about how the cradle of democracy in Europe is in cities. And if we are going to maintain democratic cities and states across Europe, we need to speak out. And I think it also probably helps to create a sense of solidarity in our cities, that we as leaders speak out. It means that other people recognize, okay, something is important might be going on here, and we should engage ourselves as citizens in Europe.
Yeah. So
Mayor Tarziev.
Just to add to what my colleague said, one, you have the importance of those networks and solidarity in terms of the emotional support, knowing that you're not alone. Second, it's about the practical side of things, sharing knowledge so that we can more intelligently and faster solve challenges that are quite similar in different cities. Three is also solidarity in terms of helping each other, not just with knowledge, but with resources, such as, say, the Sofia rescue team, which has participated in rescue efforts in Turkey and in other places, and we'd readily share those resources to help in such emergency situations. And fourth, it's about amplifying our voice on things that matter, about governance, about democracy, about all the ills that we face together as the people closest on the ground to hundreds of millions of people. And having one loud voice united by specific values is a pretty powerful tool that has to be used across Europe in order to drive our joint agenda.
If I could just add on that, I fully agree with Mr. Tarziev. And also, I think one example of this is how many European cities have supported Ukrainian cities. For instance, what we've done in Oslo is to see, okay, how can we work with our local hospital and university to support a children's hospital in Lviv? And I know other cities have done something similar with other cities as well, over Lviv. And to do that is so important because it actually means that you are not just doing the emotional and formal support, but you are actually making a difference on the ground. So I know I also agree with the fact that if we have shared experiences with certain challenges, but both to our citizens' well-being, to our services, then we will probably be able to provide better services, and that strengthens democracy as well.
And I think you're keeping the pulse of the people. You're touching the people. So sometimes governments are not that close enough to understand, to hear the voices, to touch those people. You are like the hand touching those people. So I also believe in the power of cities and the place that you are holding. Mayor de Klerk. Okay, I think he left again. I really want to hear from him. Like, what is Ghent doing in terms of democracy? And okay, we'll try again. No worries. So you were talking about values and values about transparency, about like autonomy. Can we talk about those values and what are those values that makes it the democracy prevalent in your cities? Mayor Solberg?
I think those values are engagement, inclusion, involvement, transparency, and by that you build trust. I think one way to promote democracy is something Mr. Tarziev was touching on, is that if you share data, if you share the same information we as leaders of the city have with the public, that creates trust because they can also make their own decisions. I think trust is a key pillar to democracy. Without trust erodes, then democracy will fall quickly. And one example is, I think the free press as well. In Oslo, there has been a decline. I'm sure that's the case in many other European countries in traditional editor-based media. But if they have access to data, if they have access to the information that allows them to create and cases and cover what's happening in the city on a comprehensive, analytical way, that strengthens democracy. So I'm very keen that we should have a critical free press, has the same data. Sometimes they draw different conclusions than us, but at least they can present this to the citizens in a way which makes sense of the political debate that's going on. So it's, I think also it makes the decision making in the city assembly closer to the citizens, and it makes it easier for them to engage themselves. So trust and involvement and sharing of information, I think, are key components.
I cannot agree more with the press being, and it's not taking sides, but it's just like, sharing what the truth and the reality is. Mayor Terziyev?
Well, we struggle a bit in our neck of the woods with free press and some of the other pillars in democracy, which makes it all the more worthwhile to fight for that. But just to add on what my esteemed colleague mentioned, I would add another key value, which values, and it's freedom and responsibility. It's about people understanding that they're not victims as citizens, that they can do a lot more, that they need to do a lot more, and that in addition to having rights, they also have a responsibility to society. Because you cannot have a democracy where people don't understand the true meaning of the word freedom and everything that comes with it, the responsibility for the choices you make. For yourself, for the city, understanding that you're part of something bigger, understanding the rights of others, their right to live, to be happy, appreciating their differences, which is sometimes really, really hard, and it takes a lot of evangelist work to really promote those things, which are at the basic level of a working democracy.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. If I could just add, I think citizens must be empowered. They must feel that they are in charge, and they are in charge. They cannot, as Vasilis just said, they cannot be victims. Otherwise, they're not active participants in a democracy. And I think citizens we must help also citizens understand that they every day, through their actions as citizens, holds democracy in their hands, especially when they go into that voting booth. They actually hold democracy in their hands. It's not something that's given. They can, by their choice, undermine it, or they can make it thrive. And but to do that, they need information. They need to be involved. They cannot be a nuisance to us that are running the city. It must actually be. We must realize that they are our bosses. They are the ones that gave us this mission in the first place.
And just to add, in our case, the biggest challenge that we face is the lack of trust in institutions in general and in our specific institution. And really, to bring that back, you have to start with what Eric said: honesty and trustworthiness, and being helpful, doing things for citizens. So it's really about amplifying our work and what's visible in the city, and showing that to people, communicating about it so that you can restore the trust. Once you have the trust, the virtuous spiral starts working. But before that, it's super hard.
I love how you call the people your boss. Like, they are literally voting for you to do things, and you're just like a medium. And I love the humbleness both of you are now presenting today. By the way, we have a surprise guest. No, we haven't announced
Matthias
it
the clerk
before. No. You'll be surprised. We have Dario Nardella. He was kind enough. I reached out to him only this morning, and I knew that it was not the appropriate way to do it in such a short time, but he was kind enough to accept my invitation and our former ambassador's invitation to be here with us. He's the former president of Eurocities, and on this day, on Europe Day, we are honored to have his presence here. So, Mr. Nardella, thank you for being with this cause since day one, just igniting all the mayors and also sharing it on your channels, social media channels. We would like to welcome you. And can you also address our audience? What does it say about the cities being the center of democracy and the people defining that democracy from ground up.
So thank you very much for your invitation. I know it's a surprise because I'm not in your program, but I received the invitation from my friend Mustafa Asmat, so I'm very happy joining you and to change some ideas about this very important topic that you choose, so cities for democracy and innovation. So I would like also to thank Eurocities, my association, my fellow colleagues. As you underlined, I have been president for 2.5 years of this important network, which is the largest European association of cities. And obviously, I want to thank Istanbul municipality. So the topic of our discussion I think, is crucial for the future of Europe and all the world. Obviously, why? Because when we talk about democracy, we must start from one important aspect. Democracy is not an achievement for forever. We have to take care every day. We have to increase every day. We have to follow the changement of social relations, social behaviors, and democratic models. And you know how crucial is this moment around the world. We have in many countries governments with the power that they want to limit democratic rights. We have these threats, for example, in European Union. I want to mention the Hungary government, who decided to deliver a lot of new regulation to limit fundamental rights, LGBTQ organizations. So they want to affect the equal genders principles. And that's why in many occasions European institutions condemn the decisions delivered by Hungarian government. But we have other aspects of democratic limitation, the limitation of democratic rights in Turkey. I would like to express in this occasion my full solidarity to my friend Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is still in prison in Sliviri. And Ekrem is a symbol of free cities engagement for democracy, for fundamental rights, and also for democratic model increasing. We have a lot of attention in many other countries in the world, also around the Mediterranean area, where democratic institutions are not fully supported. That's why the rule of cities is very central, is a strategic rule. We must push on the cities as protagonists of a new democratic deal. We must reinforce the cities network, because cities network are useful to change experiences, to share values, to share common projects in order to enhance democratic values. For example, in education field, for example, in democratic participation, for example, in rule of law projects, and cities have a common aspects. Cities don't build wall. Cities can build bridges. Cities are the place of dialogues. In cities, we can have different cultures. We can have a community with different religions, with different cultural experiences all together. Cities are multicultural, multi-religious places where you can build peace day by day. That's why we must keep all together the cities. We have to stress the big and very positive experiences coming from different networks. For example, I had a lot of experiences with Mayor Imamoglu. Istanbul is a very strategic city in the Mediterranean framework. It's a part of Eurocities, but it's also one of the most important city of B40 Balkanic cities network. You can see all these networks as important tools to stress the commitment of national governments for democracy. And we can't talk about democracies without innovation, because innovation is not only how to apply technological innovation on social relations, but also social innovation, cultural innovation, education innovation. Innovation is an approach, is a way to think about how to modernize our cities, how to stress the cultural and human relations in our cities. If we combine innovation and democratic projects, we can transform our cities in social laboratories. And the power must come from bottom-up process. We can't accept any kind of aggressive approach of the power from central governments, from central states. And if we still have a big dreams to realize in Europe, and I think about a stronger and more united Europe, we also have to invest our energy on the Mediterranean framework, the relation between Europe and other countries. And also in this case, cities are a crucial point on which build new network within institutions, within universities, within cultural institutions on Mediterranean framework. So Europe can't grow without a positive strategic vision on the Mediterranean growth and the Mediterranean peace projects. So thank you very much for this opportunity. And I believe in the rule of Istanbul, a city of history. You know, my city, Florence, is the capital of humanism and Renaissance. But Istanbul, with her history, is a mix of cultures, from Latin and Byzantine culture to the modern culture. That's why we need a free, democratic and stronger Istanbul for all of us, for the future of the Mediterranean and for future of Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sparing this time from your business schedule and being with us, addressing us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Nardella. I would like to ask you one challenging question. Sometimes we see that cities are being challenged with at the national level politics, and sometimes they are being challenged about their autonomy. How do you balance that between the national level politics and your autonomy, trying to keep up with those challenges? Mayor Tarzia, let's start with you.
I am a little bit at odds with central government, so I can share a lot. In addition to that, we have a few other structural issues in terms of pretty much zero of the personal income tax staying in the city where it was generated, and us being responsible for 45% of Bulgarian GDP, and then relying on the mercy of central government. You understand that it's complicated. The other thing is that specific things like the city master plan and a law on urban planning are codified so that they have to pass in parliament, which kind of limits the local self-governance. So we have a lot of like structural issues to deal with. But one thing I know is that at odds or not, you have to always try to work with all the other institutions, because it's not about you proving a point, about you winning. It's about you creating value for citizens. Yes, it might be hard. Yes, it might be imperfect, but you were not elected to complain. You were elected to find solutions to hard problems that were not solved before you. So if you have better ideas, if you believe something needs to be changed, you just roll up the sleeves and work. So even though it's not easy, I try to keep a positive outlook and to look at this as a privilege, because ultimately we have to understand that we're very privileged to be in a position to be able to serve. And we have to be responsible with the trust that was given upon us by citizens. So hard or not, we have to persevere. But that said, you know that it's pretty important to push for what's happening on the European level, for all of us to find other ways to be closer to Brussels, to the funding mechanisms, so that we have more autonomy for some of the key projects related to how we reimagine our cities, and that not being a victim of the political drama inside a given country.
Amazing. And Mayor Solberg?
I'd like to start off with saying I agree with Mr. Tercio that cities cannot be victims either. We need to take control of our own destiny. And if we do, I think we'll get even more respect at the national level and a greater clout at the national level. But there is a tension. There is a tension between the central level and the local level. I think, you know, we're very fairly fortunate that it's not super tense, but still we have tensions. I mean, there's one axis, which is how the central government they always want to make sure that what they decide in Parliament and in the city, in the central government, is implemented locally. So to do that, they pass laws and they limit our freedom to make our own decisions. That is something that all municipalities and cities in Norway are facing towards the central government, and I think that's the case across Europe. Then there is another axis, which is directed at larger cities. We find that in our country, there is a tendency to redistribute tax income from the cities to the rural areas. And that's a popular measure that many central governments do in order to get more votes or to become more popular. And of course, that creates an issue for us, because they're taking away what is used to be our money and spending it on other things. And that makes it harder for us to balance our budgets. We still have to do it. We still have to take responsibility, but that is a real challenge. And I actually fairly often challenge national ministers in media why they are not addressing the needs of the cities. Because the problems we're facing, they usually start in the cities, and the solutions very often start in the cities. And I think Nadella was pointing out to it that a new sort of revived democratic vitality in Europe needs also to start in the cities. This is where people meet. This is where diverse people meet, and national governments that tend to recognize that. If they stop encouraging tolerance and appreciation of diversity in the cities, then it's going downhill for democracy all over the country.
Yeah, and I just want to add that it's about us giving an example. So yes, in my case, the central government protects the centralized system. But I, on the other hand, with the tools I have, I'm pushing hard for decentralization within the city, so that all of the 24 district mayors are not without money, without the tools, without the support to really do right for citizens. So I'm trying to offload more and more responsibilities to them and to do that also with a growing budget, so that unlike before, where they were at the mercy of the big mayor, that they have more tools to get closer to citizens, to increase the pace with which they do well for the tens of thousands of people within their districts. So even though I have not been I don't see that model working on the national level. I'm trying to show that it can work on the local level within my, and hopefully it will be seen as working in other cities and in other, and on the national level at some point. But it again boils down to the basics. The world is imperfect. But rather than complain about how bad it is, it's up to us to show something different. We might fail, but at least we've tried. And if we show a working model, then to find ways to promote it elsewhere within other cities in the network, to national government, but not wait. We cannot allow ourselves to wait for somebody else to hand us the solutions, hand us the easy way. That's part of the interesting part of the job.
Yeah, I think we can set an example as cities. And one way of doing that is just as Mr. Chosia was just telling, but also I think the appreciation of diversity, helping the LGBTIQ plus community, helping immigrant communities to be accepted. This has to start in the cities. And if we do it right, I think the rest of the country and the national government will probably follow.
And you know, it again boils down to something very fundamental. Do you see the local government as a citizen, or you as a local government, the central government, as kind of your parent, somebody that has to solve all of your problems, or you look at that as an acceleration engine where it's on you as a citizen, on you as a small group, to show something that's novel, something that's different, to find a way to create that value, to scale it, and then go to local government or to national government to say, hey guys, this is a good idea, it's proven, it's tested, now let's amplify it. I see any level of government as an amplifier rather than as the people who have to give every answer to every question, and you can allow to be dependent of that system. No, it's about you being free, about you being independent, about you always searching for things to be better, and government helping you scale the good ideas.
Yeah, that's the true nature of a city, isn't it? With citizens, not subjects.
Yeah. Take the ownership. So like you are taking ownership. I will definitely visit your cities soon. I love your humbleness, how your proactiveness, and how you're being servant leaders. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really valuable to have your presence, to have your voice on this very special day, on Europe Day. Do you have any closing remarks before we end up this session?
Just a big thank you for the invitation, for the opportunity to share some thoughts, and please send my best regards to Mr. Imamoglu, my full support as president of B40, as a friend, and as somebody who sees him as a true leader.
Thank you, we really appreciate it.
I'd like to add to that as well. All the best to Mr. Imamoglu, and for all the rest of you as well. Happy Europe Day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming again. Okay, now we have our next panel. And for our next panel, first I will invite our moderator to the stage. Please welcome Minola Jack. Me and Minola, we've been connected for some time, and when I was planning for this event, I couldn't think of another name but Minola for this, to moderate this amazing panel. And she's going to be the moderator for this panel. Hi, Minola, how are you?
Hello, everyone, and a big, wholehearted Happy Europe Day from Basel in Switzerland. It is a joy and it is a privilege to be here. And I am here honoring not just the friendship and the respect I have for Mine, but also because Europe Day is near and dear to my heart. And I do believe that a lot of democracy and innovation starts in the cities. And we are at the heart of the cities. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here today. So we are missing one of our panelists, but I will call on to the stage the rest of our panelists. Let me see if we have Safa. I think we don't have her yet. If she comes, I will add her to the panel to be a panelist. So today we have with us Professor Kerem Öktem, Professor of International Relations, Jerry Burton, Global Parliament of Mayors Talent Cities CEO, and my inspiration for this event. Jerry was the inspiration for this event. We were talking late last night, when I reminded her of that conversation we had about like 2 months ago. And we said, why don't we bring the power of cities together to create more awareness about the situation and how cities can unite to create a bigger impact. And we have Rukiye Aydın Türktaş, the group head of technology at Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality. So the stage is yours. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Mina. And I will just kick us off with a big thank you for taking the time and the energy and the generosity of sharing your hope for the future, being here today. So the title of the panel is Voices of Hope, Civic Action and Innovation for Resilient Communities. What I would like to ask your help on a logistics topic. When you are not contributing, if you can stay on mute, because sometimes technology has a strong personality and gives us echo and background noises. Thank you so very much. And I would really like to create the energy of our conversation. I will just pass the e-mic around clockwise as you are on my screen. And I would love to hear why this topic is so important to you, that you decided that you will celebrate a bit of Europe Day being here with us. So what does Voices of Hope sound like for you today? And Professor Öktem, I would invite you to lead us.
Well, thank you very much, Minola, and thank you very much for the very kind invitation. Well, I'm a very committed European. I'm Turkish, German, but I'm also a very frustrated European, I have to say, these days. I'm very concerned about the global shifts in power and also what that means for Europe, the militarization, the rise of far-right governments, and the change in political discourse. So I think we're really facing a big, big danger there. But I think that cities are some of the places, the venues, where we can speak up to the powers that be, and where we can stand up for, democracy, human rights, and an inclusive society.
Thank you. Mrs. Türktaş, wonderful to see you. Welcome.
Wonderful to see you. Thank you.
Why is important for you to be here today? What is the lens through which you look at May 9?
Okay. First of all, good afternoon from the bridge, Asia and Europe, and beautiful, cultural, amazing city, Istanbul. Thanks for kindly invitation. I'm here today in our country, negative situations, to do very good projects about startups and citizens and all Istanbul's civil companies. I want to mention about these sessions. And happy Europe Day.
Thank you so very much, and welcome again, and thank you for inspiring this event, Mrs. Burton. It's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Mina's being very kind. Of course, all of my gratitude to her and to everyone participating. This is a wonderful event. And please call me Jerry. And I am joining you from Austin, Texas, where, as you can tell around me, it is still early morning and fairly dark. Many of the issues that are being covered in this session today are global. So whether I am in Europe or other places that I often travel, or here in Austin, these are the issues facing many nations today, and the opportunity for cities to play their role. So as we look at moving towards the digital economy, as we look at the digital society, as we look at innovation and startups and entrepreneurism, it's really the time and the role of the cities. It's the cities around the world that are making these connections. So when Mina introduced when you introduced me, the Global Parliament of Mayors Cities project is that looks to connect on the very important issue. And I think what I'd like to sort of from a framework is, as we look at this cities movement, from the beginning of it, it was a tech movement. Right? Looked at how to improve cities, improve quality of life. Looked at that model movement. It's getting more and more human-centric in its focus, which is why it's so focused on taking that paradigm, artificial intelligence, cognitive intelligence, and moving it forward in a smart talent city model. As people become empowered with innovation and imagination and creativity, personal insights, they propel their cities forward. And thinking about the comments that we just heard before, those cities then become models for their whole countries. So the way I see it today, we are celebrating Europe, we are celebrating, and we're celebrating cities around the world. And that's why I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you all for being here. And I would just like to celebrate the energy around the topic of technology and innovation, with the promise that we will come to pick them up in just a few minutes. But I remember I was looking at the title of the panel, and there is one word in particular that made me very curious about the lenses for our conversation today, and that is resilient. Resilience is a word that is being thrown around quite a lot lately. And at least within the business world, we see more and more often that as much as we think it's a straightforward, self-explanatory word, it can mean different things to different people. So, Professor Oktem, based on your research and on your academic lens into the topic, could you help us look at what do we mean by resilient communities? I know that you often speak to how urban resilience is based on values and principles, and it's both cultural and political. So give us a flavor of your take on resilient communities.
Right, thank you very much. Well, I'm approaching this topic from a political science perspective. And of course, my research is mostly on the Turkish case, but I think it is. I mean, we have other examples where this approach actually helps. Also, like in Budapest, for instance, where you have, let's say, an authoritarian term, a deep autocratizing process in the nation state, and you have cities where you have responses developing against this autocratization. So where you have, democratic initiatives, where you have people coming together to stand up against autocratization. And it is in this context that cities can, for instance, be places where democratic resilience finds a home, i.e., where even if the state or on the national level we see a undemocratic state emerging, we see democratic institutions, democratic policies being implemented in the city itself. And I think both Istanbul and Budapest are good examples for that, where mayors and local councils have been able to create an alternative framework for society and for politics, for ecology, and even for the political economy in many ways, because they often search also for alternatives to neoliberalism. Unchecked neoliberalism can be really terrible, and we see that the municipality in Istanbul has done. I mean, we'll hear probably from Rukiye Hanım about that more, but there has been a massive effort also, to create job opportunities for job seekers, which don't have to go through, the much more patronage-based relations which a neoliberal authoritarian economy will offer. So I think that cities can be these places where you can resist against authoritarianism, and where society can, and that I think is where resilience come in, where individuals have the resources to replenish in their fight against these kind of destructive forces in society.
Jerry, please, I see you unmuted. Please jump in.
Sure. This is a great question. Because I loved Kerem's answer, and I would answer it so differently. So it's a wonderful question because it is different. So I'm going to step back into my role with corporations and look at the change management role and resilience. And again, refer to the fact that cities are very different age. AI is changing so much. This is so much on the minds of cities and citizens and corporations and startups, et cetera. And so the question of resilience, for me, reflects the ability to change and the ability to embrace change and to understand that change is constant and that change moves in waves of tipping points. The change builds up, and then that change becomes the norm, and then we're on to the next change. So I think that cities that really can embrace resilience are cities that encourage their people as a public service to be ready for change. And when people feel empowered and capable of doing that, and not vulnerable and not in crisis, but with a solid foundation to embrace change, those are resilient citizens, those are resilient cities, and that builds up to a resilient, perhaps, country or region.
Thank you. Mrs. Turktaş, I do have a bit of a different lens of this question for you to bring into our conversation, because I guess for someone passionate about technology, change is just music to your ears. Change is such a big reality of technology. How do you see technology contributing to resilient communities?
Thank you. I want to mention the meeting point entrepreneurship. We have our big projects with Mr. İmamoğlu, Tech Istanbul. Tech Istanbul operation under Smart City Directorate under the Information Technology Department of Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality. With its entrepreneurship program, it supports startups in achieving rapid growth and building scalable business model. To date, Tech Istanbul support 542 startups across its 4 locations in Şişli, Şişhane, Başakşehir, and Kayışdağ. These startups have attracted over $87 million in investment and reached revenues of 1 million Turkish liras. The number of training and events organized for tech innovations has reached 2,200 with more than 158,000 participants. And this project selected as the world's best accelerator incubation program in 2024 by the Global Startup Awards. Tech Istanbul offers support mechanism designed to meet the needs of entrepreneurs from idea stage to global expansion.
What an incredible, inspiring story. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
One thing that came very clear out of the previous panel, and I love how Mayor Solberg put it in words, is that cities cannot be victims, and how cities need to step up and own and create their own futures. So having all these lenses that you put on the table, I would invite Jerry to lead us into this next bit. When we look through the human-centered approach at cities, how do you see the future from that standpoint?
So cities, of course, as I said, are driving the future. Right? More and more people are coming to cities. We know that over half of humanity lives in cities. Cities are contributing 85% of global GDP. So cities will drive what happens as we go forward. And that brings us to the double-sided strand of innovation and the wonderful startup story that we were just told in Istanbul, innovation and inclusion. So as we look at the topic of talent, talent is an asset that everyone owns. And in the time of AI, we're not looking so much at the degrees we earned, or the skill certificates even we earned. We're looking at the 70 to 90% of our learning that happens outside of the classroom via experience. So if we are enabled to value that and value our own talent and see ourselves as all of us as contributing, if that view of the city is that the migrants that join have talent, that the person who's been not working for a while has talent, that the entrepreneur is bringing incredible talent, the superstars have talent that we see. If we have a way to value that moving forward in our cities, that is, of course, the Smart Talent Cities movement, we can value that and share those experiences, then it lends to inclusion as an asset. So that is the vision that I think is moving our cities and all of our people forward.
Is there anything that the co-panelists would like to add to this?
Yes, actually, I would like to follow up on very valuable points on inclusion as well. Now, you cannot have innovation under conditions of authoritarianism or fascism. I mean, we know that. These are kind of conditions which paralyze creative thinking and which otherize large parts of society, members of LGBTQ communities, immigrants, members of ethnic and religious minorities. And I think the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, for instance, has really, I mean, of course, it hasn't yet been able to end the autocratic context that requires different struggles on different levels. But it has created spaces where people feel, I think, safe and empowered enough to explore new ideas. Now, I mean, Istanbul, you probably all know, is a city on the sea, but most of its coasts were actually not accessible to the general public anymore because everything had been privatized. You had clubs, you had cafes built often by members of the current regime, and the municipality actually made these coasts available with museums, public cafes, and so on. And I think thereby museums, free museums, where people can go and sit the whole day and work if they want. And I think that has created new spaces. Like innovation doesn't only happen in hubs for innovation, right? It sometimes happens in places which weren't thought for that matter. But when you create these public services, I think you contribute to a more innovative society on a very important level. So and when these spaces are inclusive, when people from different communities feel empowered to enter those spaces and to come together, then I think that does probably also support to the resilience of society vis-a-vis a political thinking which doesn't like society, which wants to kind of reduce everything to the individual as an entrepreneurial unit.
Hmm. It is absolutely fascinating to see how in conversations of today, trust and innovation, they are very, very close together. And Mrs. Turktaş, I cannot resist the temptation to ask you to speak more about Tech Istanbul and how technology bridges trust through increased transparency, but also innovation. So whatever it is that you want to contribute through this wonderful lens of Tech Istanbul, I am sure we are all super open to hear.
Especially, I want to mention about two topic for the various target group for especially children's, youngs and women with entrepreneurial skills. This works is Tech Istanbul Entrepreneurship School. The Entrepreneurship School seeks to information individuals who want to enter the entrepreneurship ecosystem or have the potential to work in this field, introduce them to new career opportunities and increase female employments. One of its key goal is support women's participants in the ecosystem and increasing their representation in business life. Participants will gain fundamental skills needed to being their entrepreneurial journey and benefit from spatial design support program and for women entrepreneurs.
I see a lot of enthusiastic nodding from your co-panelists. So I would invite both of you, Jerry and Professor Oktem, to jump in and build on this.
Well, so much enthusiastic nodding as we include women and girls and children more, and as we give people permission to be entrepreneurs. I think that's one of the things that is very much ingrained in American culture, and it's great to see it happening in cities around the world. Mm-hmm. I think also the other point of nodding enthusiastically in support very much of what Tech Istanbul does, and also to say that as we in experience, and again, going back to the impact that we're going to see from advances in technology, as we migrate from purely a degree-based society to a skill certification society, to an experience-based society, as we can find ways to recognize and include those experiences more, that has a direct impact on the inclusion of women. That has an outsized impact on the inclusion of women everywhere around the world. So many, many nods of enthusiasm around all of that.
Yes, and I can join in that enthusiasm because I also live in Istanbul. I mean, I'm commuting between Venice and Istanbul, and I see, of course, what the kind of policies by the municipality and also of municipality organizations like Tech Istanbul do, and how they change the city's makeup, for instance. And interestingly, at around the same time, the cities of Venice and Istanbul have started to employ women in the boat services, right? I mean, which has been for many years, the boatsman was a job which was only done by men, right? The people who you see when the boat Moors at the iskele, at the landing stage, right? And so this has been for decades seen as a man's job, for instance. And we've seen how women have kind of entered these jobs in both cities at around the same time. And in Istanbul, I know, how this was like a very clear sign of policy to show that, women can be visible in all jobs and in all parts of life. And of course, in Italy, this is maybe part of a longer term social integration of women into all parts of life. In the case of Turkey, it's also it's one of those cases where the municipality can make a difference because, of course, the state's policies on this is to keep women very much limited to traditional positions within society or to traditional women's professions like being teachers and nurses and so on, but not being seen in domains which are associated with men. So I think this again, I think, contributes to a context within which it is possible to be innovative, because if you're kind of tucked into a very socially conservative, politically conservative environment, you cannot really escape and start to develop new ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yes, please, Jerry.
It's an interesting comment, and it reflects something that's been said in previous panels, that as city networks become more and more proactive, Eurocities, the Global Parliament of Mayors, as these kind of networks move forward, the cities set examples. So I found it really interesting in your comment of looking at Istanbul and Venice, because the cities share the best practices, they share the innovations, but they also share the policies of life that create those things. So it's very interesting.
Mm. I can totally see and wholeheartedly celebrate how you are voices of hope and how you identify with the title of the panels. Just to try to wrap it up. Sadly, we are getting close to wrapping our conversation up. I was wondering, there is this message that comes very, very clearly out of our previous conversation, this conversation, how we cannot wait for someone or some body, as in an organizational body, to come and hold our hand. Mm-hmm. So I would really love to go maybe one step deeper into this increased participation. Mm-hmm. What would you like to leave with our audience today as citizens, so that we can contribute to resilient communities, we can contribute meaningfully and purposefully to civic action and innovation as citizens? So I would leave that question on the table, and please jump in.
Well, I'll kick us off. I think that democracy, especially as we define it here in the States, especially being in Austin, Texas, democracy is a two-part game. Democracy doesn't work if citizens aren't participating. Citizens must participate for democracy to stay alive and to function well and to fulfill its promise. So what cities can do is encourage their citizens to engage. If left alone, some citizens will engage and others won't. So it is prompting those parts of citizenry, prompting citizens to have the confidence and resilience, and I would say in some cases the evidence of their talent and their gift to want to engage. And I think there, I will go back to the comments about Tech Istanbul, because when we create those kinds of entrepreneurial environments that encourage women and children and train people and kind of give people that check mark that says, yeah, you can engage, people are more likely to engage. And that creates innovation, but it also creates a strong democracy.
Thank you.
Okay, I could follow up on that. I mean, of course, when we talk about participation, it may sound a bit old-fashioned, but we, of course, also think of elections. And, this is something the citizens of Istanbul and cities in Turkey have the right, actually, to elect their mayor and their local councils. And that is the basis of democracy. At the moment, in Turkey, we're experiencing a situation where that possibility is taken away. The fact that İmamoğlu is now in prison shows that the right of almost 16 million citizens to decide on their own leadership and on the future of their city has been taken away. So for me, participation in the first place means to fight against the conditions under which this right is being taken away, right? That's because without the possibility of proper, fair elections, where actually the elected person then is allowed to stays in power, we're not talking about participation in any meaningful way. That is the first absolutely necessary condition. And then once we have, in this case, our mayor back, İmamoğlu, Ekrem İmamoğlu, then we have to think about how participation can go beyond that. And I think that's also happening in Istanbul. I mean, the municipality has been quite good in having participative methods. Also in Budapest, for instance, participative budget making, for instance, where citizens are actually able to engage in the discussion, enter the discussion to say what they believe is important, what kind of projects should be done in their neighborhood. But also, our cities are subjected to this neoliberal onslaught where the city is actually seen as a resource from which the 1% wants to make money, right? And that means that our parks, our natural resources, they are a danger. And we have to defend them as well. And that, I think, for me, is also central, for a participative democracy, the right to have a say on the resources, the collective commons we still have in many cities, but which may be at risk.
I feel that this conversation didn't need 40 minutes, but it needs 40 episodes of going through all the layers. Now, I know I said the last question, but I will squeeze one in at the risk of Mina telling me in the chat, bed Minola. I do want to go back and finish on the note of our panel title, which is Voices of Hope. So I would invite you to just jump in and share what gives you hope as you sit here in this conversation today on Europe Day. What is one thing that gives you hope?
So I would say, looking backwards, and I'll explain what I mean by that. I think that we often look at where we are and say, but this isn't going well, but this isn't happening, but there isn't fast enough, but it's not going in the right direction. And all of those things may be true, but also if we look at history, we do see a lot of progress. And we do see a lot of inclusion, and we see a lot of alleviation of poverty. So we can take inspiration from a lot of, it goes backwards 2 steps, forward 1 step, and it goes forward 2 steps and backward 1 steps. But we are on a journey to a better place. And so that gives me hope. Even if we can't see it in the instance, we can take a broader view, and that encourages us to keep moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Turktaş, please. Sorry.
Okay. No, don't worry. I want to say some good things for all Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality projects. We do so many projects in the past with our mayor, like social municipality projects, for example, Askıda Fatura, for example, railway projects, for example, transportation projects, and I mentioned about Tech Istanbul projects, and I said we sign these projects with our mayor, Mr. İmamoğlu, and I believe with all my heart we sign new projects with our mayor. Thank you for this invitation again.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Professor Öktem.
Yes, I am not in a very hopeful place at the moment when I look around myself. I mean, when I look from Istanbul, we don't have to go to the US and Trump and the kind of new reverberations this had on the world stage. But there's a genocide happening next door to us in Gaza. There are terrible things happen in our region, in our extended region, and in Europe. But at the same time, of course, there is organized resistance to that, resilience and resistance, and that is what gives me hope. In the case of Istanbul, it's a travesty of justice. It's unbelievable that İmamoğlu and his team, the entire team, which has done these amazing policies, is in prison. But there has been such a powerful response to that in society. Hundreds of thousands of people, students, retired people are on the streets in support for Mr. İmamoğlu. And I think it's this kind of organized resistance, large-scale alliances which stand up for democracy and human rights, which gives me hope and which kind of, I think, inspires us all, because it's so easy to destroy things, and it's so much harder to create new things. And you see it in Istanbul, like with all these new parks, all these new museums. That has taken 6-7 years to mature, and it can be destroyed in one go, because states have the power to do so, certain states. And what we see also in the United States, that in a centralized political system, terrible things can happen if just one person wills it. So I think we have to be, we have to join those people on the streets, those large alliances, to make sure that we can defend these foundational values of democracy, human rights, inclusivity for the future.
Thank you so very much, Mrs. Turktaş, Jerry, Professor Öktem, for being our voices of hope today. Much appreciation and much gratitude. And it was a joy, it was a privilege. Happy Europe Day. And may you have many, many causes of hope moving forward. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank you
Europe
very
Day.
much. Thank you.
I would also like to thank you once again for being with us today. And Jerry, I know that it's too early. It's not even morning for you. So thank you for taking that time. Thank you for making that sacrifice from your sleep and being here with us today. And Professor Öktem and Ms. Rukiye, thank you for being with us during these hard times and supporting us in the cause. And so now is our next panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for the next panel, we will have our dear Minola again. Are you tired? I was like asking, I can just help you with this, but you're doing an amazing job. Thank you for bringing all your energy here, being with us today once again, from bringing the breeze from Switzerland on this Europe Day.
Thank you very much for having me. And these are the kind of conversations that, give you energy. I will probably be tired later in the day, but it will be a good tired.
I know. I can definitely feel you. So now I would like to call onto the stage our former ambassador, foreign relations advisor to the mayor of Istanbul, Mustafa Osman Turan, who has been really a great support for me all throughout this process, even today. And since morning, I am so grateful for all his support support throughout this process. Without him, it wouldn't be possible to pull this through. And also now Andrzej Sobczak, again, Eurocities Secretary General, and Ricardo Rio, Mayor of Braga, and also the chair of the Executive Committee of the Global Parliament of Mayors. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. I know that you all have busy schedules, and this is really so meaningful for us today, for you to be here all together, lending your voices. Now I leave the stage to our moderator, Minola.
Thank you so very much for being here. I will just echo Mina's gratitude and appreciation for your time and your energy, for being here on Europe Day of all the days. And I would invite you, we start this conversation as we started the previous panel, and I would really love to hear from you why this topic of alliances for the future, of strengthening city diplomacy and solidarity, is so important to you that you carved out time on this day to be here with us. Mr. Turan, I would invite you to lead us into this conversation.
Thank you very much, Minola. This is also a great pleasure for me to join you and support this event. As you pointed out, it's a meaningful day today, also for us in Istanbul. We didn't want this day of Europe Day to go unnoticed, especially during these difficult times, because this is the time when the role of cities in defending democracy and driving innovation is more vital and more urgent than ever. We are meeting at a moment of profound uncertainty. In Turkey, we are witnessing one of the gravest attacks on democratic norms in our recent memory. Across the world, from Latin America to Central Europe, from South Asia to parts of our own continent, we see how the erosion of democratic institutions is being normalized, often under legal guise and often with little accountability. In these challenging times, I speak to you from Istanbul, not only as one of the world's great cities, but also as a democratic stronghold under pressure. These unprecedented political attacks, judicial harassment on our mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, his arrest, Istanbul remains steadfast in its commitment to democratic values, civic participation, and inclusive governance. And here lies our central belief, and that's why I'm here. When national institutions are captured or weakened, cities must rise. In recent years, Istanbul has turned to city diplomacy not as a luxury, but as a necessity, building bridges with peer cities, mobilizing democratic solidarity, and shaping transnational partnerships that protect the rights of our people when our national institutions fail to do so. Under the leadership of Mayor İmamoğlu, Istanbul launched the B40 Balkan Cities Network, which was mentioned earlier in previous mayor's conversation. We united over 70 local governments in our region to promote peace, collaboration, and democratic innovation. We have hosted international summits for cities from the Middle East and North Africa, creating new diplomatic spaces that transcend national divisions. And through active engagement with Eurocities, C40, UCLG, and Metropolis, we have ensured that Istanbul's voice, our people's voice, remains heard on the global stage. By the way, I also would like to express our sincere appreciation for Eurocities, and especially the mayor of Paris, Madame Anne Hidalgo, for launching a joint statement in the early days after the arrest of our mayor, for expressing their solidarity. Over 75 mayors have signed this declaration. In our view, innovation is not just about technology also. It's also about renewing the social contract. We have implemented, as was mentioned, participatory budgeting, expanded our open data platforms, and developed digital tools that bring citizens into decision-making processes much closer. From climate resilience to social inclusion, from smart mobility to urban equity, we have worked to make innovation a driver of democracy, not an escape from it. But let me be candid, our path has not been easy. Since 2019, Mayor İmamoğlu has faced an onslaught of politically motivated cases, from the annulment of his election victory to fabricated charges, and most recently his imprisonment. These attacks are designed not only to remove a political rival, but also to send a message to every citizen who believes in change through democratic means. His voice has been restricted, his accounts blocked, and his freedom taken, but his vision remains intact. And his colleagues, including myself, those of us who have worked with him day in, day out, remain fully committed to carrying that vision forward. We will not allow our city to become isolated. And that's why we wanted to contribute to this event. And we will also not allow democratic memory to fade. And we will not let authoritarianism define the future of our urban governance. That is why partnerships like the one we have here today matter more than ever. City diplomacy is no longer about soft power. It's about democratic survival. Through shared projects, mutual learning, and political solidarity, we can create a network of cities that defend rights, elevate truth, and keep hope alive. And so, on behalf of the people of Istanbul, those who endure, those who resist, and those who still dream, I invite you to deepen this partnership. Let us build new platforms. Let us protect vulnerable voices, and let us work together to ensure that democracy does not merely survive, but evolves, thrives, and delivers. In these times, may our cities become more than service providers. May they become sanctuaries of freedom, laboratories of justice, and engines of democratic renewal. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Mr. Sobchak, welcome. It's a privilege to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for me also to be with you.
What motivated you to say, I will be there present in this conversation today?
As I said in my welcoming words, it was normal for us to be here on Europe Day because it's since the very beginning that we have been supporting Mayor İmamoğlu in his fight against political threats from the national government. And indeed, we liked the approach that you took for this event of highlighting that a more democratic Europe starts in cities. And we have seen throughout the event many examples from committed mayors that are showing that they can be a bridge also between European institutions and citizens, because mayors, I think, have the privilege of being close to their citizens. They meet them on a daily basis, so they are much better aware of the needs, the expectations of the populations, and they can integrate them in the management of their city much better maybe than national governments or European institutions or international institutions that are more far away from citizens. And as a citizens as well, if you meet a challenge on a daily basis, it's very difficult to reach out to a national government, to an international organization, but your mayor, your deputy mayor, and the people from the administration of your city, you can meet them very easily. So this is also why I think we can see so many innovations going on the ground in cities where indeed there is a concrete dialogue between the different actors. And also, I think that at the level of cities, we can see that the different stakeholders have understanding of the common future of their city. Sometimes at the national level or at the European and international level, you have a lot of ideological debates and constraints and sometimes fights between different political parties. When you go on the ground, you can see that people can agree on compromises, and I think mayors have often the possibility to bring together people that are living in the same city that sometimes have different interests, of course. We shouldn't be naive. But in the end, they can make efforts to find these compromises because it's for the overall good of their city. And I think that more and more we can see that cities are the only ones that can actually help to find innovative solutions to address the key challenges that we meet. We see it, of course, with climate change that is happening in our cities, and a lot of cities in the Eurocities network have started to implement interesting solutions there. And they can do a lot on the ground, but it's also the same, of course, for social inclusion, where cities are in the front line as well, for competitiveness and for democracy. But I think why it's important to have also city networks like Eurocities or the Global Parliament of Mayors or the B40 network that we have been working very closely together in the past already. It's because it's not enough if each mayor tries to find the solution in his or her city. We don't have the time. We need to find innovative solutions, and we need to implement them on a large scale. And for this, having the opportunity to meet other mayors, to learn from each other, to get inspired from each other, and sometimes also to develop common solutions, it's necessary. And of course, it's also necessary because we need to make sure that the voices of cities are heard by national governments and European and international organizations, because sometimes, even if the mayors know what they should do, even if they have good ideas, they have constraints that come from the national or the European level. So we need to strengthen the forces of different mayors to bring them together, to go jointly to see the national governments and the European institutions, to convince them sometimes to lower some of the barriers that exist in the regulations, sometimes maybe to develop some new regulations to empower cities to do more, and also, of course, to get funding to the cities, because a lot of cities also are under difficult financial situations. So for all this, we need to have these different networks to make sure that the good ideas that exist on the ground, the hope that exists on the ground, is actually spreading much more. Yeah, I think this is the purpose of this event, to show that, to highlight this on Europe Day, to say we can have hope and we can create a better future if we work together and if we make sure that mayors are empowered and not hindered by national governments.
Thank you so very much. Mayor Rio, welcome. A privilege to have you with us today.
Thank you, Minola. It's a pleasure as well to join this very interesting debate that you are promoting today. Well, from my part, first of all, I obviously have to mention that Braga and myself were one of the first signatories of the statement that was launched by the mayor of Paris together with the Eurocities, and that we obviously support Mayor Imamoglu. And we do it not only because we acknowledge his amazing work that he did in many, many areas in the management of Istanbul, but obviously because the safeguard of democracy and the safeguard of the autonomy of the local power is something that we value a lot. And myself, both as a member of the Eurocities ExCom and also as a member or as currently the chairman of the Global Parliament of Mayors, have been working a lot in recent years to advocate for this role of cities in the international scene. Actually, as it was mentioned many times today, we are celebrating the 75th anniversary of Europe, of the Schuman Declaration. And Europe is all about peace, is all about prosperity, is about solidarity and cohesion. And it's also about innovation and strengthening the engagement of the citizens. And I think one of the major weaknesses that we can point to the growth and to the evolution of the European project in recent years is this continuous separation between the evolution of Europe and the perspective and the engagement of the citizens. And that doesn't happen at the local level. Actually, what we see, it's the opposite. Whenever you make some sort of inquiry, we always listen that people trust more in their local powers, in their local authorities, than in the national or the international organizations. And that is because we are closer to them. We are probably more available to meet them every now and then, to listen to their problems, to realize their ambitions, and to reply directly to those prospects. And I think that one of the major responsibilities that the mayor have is to foster this democracy perspective and to engage the citizens, to engage the local stakeholders in a governance model that can obviously be shaping the future of their territories, strengthening the community spirit, and obviously also strengthening the value of democracy to those citizens and institutions. And I think that many cities and many mayors have been very active in this engagement of their citizens and creating conditions to be more transparent and to be more close to them, and so to contribute to their trust in democracy as a whole. Secondly, I think that as this panel refers to, it is very important for mayors to exchange and to collaborate not only nationally, but also internationally. Andrea was mentioning that we have to continuously look for innovative solutions. As we have this expression here in Portugal, we don't have to invent the powder. We need to look to the best practices, to look to the best examples, and to share them, to collaborate, and to obviously replicate them, because that is beneficial to everyone. But on top of that, there's also a second dimension, which is the advocacy effort that we can do at the national and the international stage, because there are issues that can only be addressed and can only be dealt with the strong engagement of the local and regional authorities. And I think that one of the major issues that we have to take into account in this perspective is that this is not a competitive approach. We are not competing with the national governments, with the international organizations, looking for power, looking for competencies, looking for resources. What we are doing is making our capacity to deliver available to these governments, to these international organizations, so that in a subsidiary approach, in a collaboration approach, we can obviously fulfill the global goals also with our capacity to achieve them on a more effective way in the local perspective. And I think that this advocacy effort that we are doing in networks like the GPM, like the Eurocities and many others, is obviously something very important. So we now live a model of city diplomacy, which is growing, which is making more and more stakeholders conscious of that opportunity. I think it's an opportunity that we have to consider. And we just look, for instance, at what happened at the United Nations level. The Secretary General, just before the latest Summit of the Future, created a specific advisory board that was composed by cities and mayors. And I think that is something that is changing the landscape in the international diplomacy, bringing the cities not only to the implementation, but also to the shape and to the discussion of the global issues and to the definition of these global policies. There's another dimension which is obviously very important, which is solidarity. We have listened already to many examples throughout these different panels. We talked about Ukraine. We talked about the wars that we are facing all over the world. We could talk about climate situations, earthquakes. For instance, I recall that when there was this huge earthquake in Gaziantep, one of the first institutions to gather and to try to action some responses was the OECD Champion Mayors Network, so that city mayors could share their experiences, could share some suggestions, some resources in order to have a quick answer to support the population of Gaziantep. And for instance, by then, we had the governor of Tokyo, which obviously faced some similar situation in the past, and that was very useful also to this initiative. And so this solidarity and solidarity approach at the international level, at the city level, it's something that it's growing as well, and it has to be taken into account. And finally, I think there's the latest idea that I would like to express, and of which I think I am, and my city is a very good example, is that when we talk about global diplomacy, we are not talking about metropolis only. We are talking also about medium cities, which obviously can play a very important role in the fostering of the development in their own countries, in their own territories, but that at the same time can share a view, and a very important view, in the shape of the global policies. And I think that is why GPM is attracting more and more cities from all over the world. That is why Eurocities is continuously growing, because we have to engage all these representatives also from medium cities, which can obviously add some value to the development of these global policies. Thank you.
We have been hearing two interlinked topics throughout the conversations today. One is that cities take charge of their own future, and the second, that no city can stand alone. But it was made very clear through everything that you shared during our conversation now. Building on that, I would invite Mr. Sobchak back to the e-mic for a few minutes, and I would ask you to go a little bit deeper and more concrete into highlighting how Eurocities, the platform, helps cities to build innovation, solidarity, and inclusion.
Yes, of course. So Eurocities is a network of more than 220 cities. We have all the capital cities of the European countries, but we have also medium-sized cities, as Ricardo Rio was mentioning. It's also important to have those cities involved, because they can also bring a lot of ideas, and they can benefit, of course, maybe sometimes even more than the largest cities of this solidarity and this exchange among each other. So what we do is to bring together politicians and people from the administration of these cities. So it's a huge network of people that work on many different topics that are relevant for cities. We have about 50 different working groups. So it can be about how to develop cycling lines in your city. It can be about how to integrate migrants in your city, how to develop the child guarantee in your cities. It can be about climate adaptation. It can be about how to develop participatory budgeting in your city. So many different topics. And the people that are working on a daily basis on these challenges in their cities, they come together either in-person meetings or virtually online to share openly about what they are doing, about their successes, but also about challenges that they meet, because we are a community of people that trust in each other. So when you have this kind of trust relationship, you can also say, but to be honest, I don't know what to do. I see that there's a huge challenge in my city, but I don't really know which kind of solution can work. And then the others from the network will step in and say, well, maybe we tried this like this, and this was successful because of this and this reason. And then it can actually give some support to the city that is currently struggling with some challenges. So this is a very important part of our work at Eurocities. So to bring together the different people, to inspire each other, to learn from each other. And then often there is a second step that follows. It's then once you are inspired, you want to implement the solutions, but to implement it, sometimes you need some additional funding. And of course, we are lucky. We are at Euro Day. We know that the European Commission funds a lot of innovations in European cities, but usually they don't fund only one project in one city, but they prefer to have a project that involve different cities that learn together. So then what we do at Eurocities is also to bring together groups of cities that have a common challenges and want to learn from each other, with each other. And we develop this European project. So at Eurocities currently we have about 40 different projects that involve our members on many, many different topics, a lot in the field of climate neutrality, but also mobility, democracy, for example, as well, where indeed, thanks to funding from the European Commission, we can innovate more and implement these innovations on the different grounds, which will then, of course, allow other cities to learn from these bigger and more ambitious projects as well. And what we also try to develop now is to develop some trainings, because it's good to get inspired by others. It's good to get some funding, but you also need to build the capacity in cities really to implement change over the long run. So we have developed a Eurocities Academy with different kinds of trainings, both for politicians and for people from the administration, where we offer trainings, for example, on digital twins, how a city can use digital twins to do a better urban planning and to make sure that the urban planning integrates social and environmental criteria, for example. We have a training now on strategic foresight for cities, where we teach cities, politicians, and people from the administration about how to anticipate the future and how to adopt innovative solutions to influence and shape the future, not only by suffering from what happens.
Thank you so very much. And Mr. Turan, you have an amazing background that bridges traditional diplomacy and city diplomacy. And for those of us and for people in the audience who are new to the city diplomacy, to the world of city diplomacy, can you walk us a little bit through what does it mean and how does it contribute to a more human-centered approach?
Yes, thank you. This is one of my most favorite topics to talk about. I have been a diplomat for 30 years before I joined Mr. İmamoğlu's office 2 years ago as his foreign relations advisor. So I served in 8 different countries as a national diplomat and experienced what it means. Now, for the past 2 years, I'm working at the local level, city diplomacy level, there are a lot of synergies between the two. Obviously, as it was mentioned, we are not in a competition with, sort of national diplomacy, but rather complement it in a way. So in fact, the skills that are required for being a diplomat equally applies to those who are engaged in city diplomacy. You need to make deals. You need to build bridges. You need to build partnerships
whether it's through sister city agreements or protocols of cooperation, you have to understand the realities of another city and create a common ground to work on, basically. And that sometimes requires negotiations between city representatives. And when it comes to multilateral city diplomacy, it's also pretty much similar to the diplomacy among the governments, because we have to also create alliances for various causes that we think are important, such as mitigating the effects of climate change or addressing poverty in our cities. When I first started 2 years ago, we took a very bold initiative. I think that was a bit risky, but I think we succeeded because there has been no exclusive platform for mega cities like Istanbul to come together. And so for the first time in the history of cities, we have actually brought together around 10 mega cities in Istanbul for the first time, because we believe that the size of the mega cities make it really important to really try and get them around the same table and try to agree on certain, identify certain common challenges and provide certain common solutions. And once those solutions are found, I think the impact of implementing them becomes a lot more impactful on the global scale. So this is just an example how diplomacy can work for the benefit of not only individual cities, but also a group of cities collectively, which in the end, benefits for the solutions of the world's biggest problems. So these are a couple of points I wanted to share.
Thank you so very much. And Mayor Rio, I know that cultural diplomacy is a topic that you have a lot of energy and passion for. So I would invite you to take a few minutes and tell us what is cultural diplomacy.
Well, Minola, I think that one of the great examples that, one of the great things that we can realize from these interventions, it's that the range of scope of the city diplomacy is almost infinite. We can be talking about political issues. We can be talking about concrete projects that are developed in certain areas of management of a city. For instance, at the European level right now, we have and I think it's a global issue, the inhabitation crisis that we face and the way that we need to address to that topic. And that's also an issue in which Eurocities is playing a very important role. And within these different areas, I think that the cultural area is indeed a very important one because, first of all, I think that the safeguard of culture and of heritage and using culture as an economic, as a development factor is something that is important for every territory. It links directly with its identity. It links directly with the community spirit that we need to strengthen. But at the same time, it's something that we can, first of all, develop a lot of initiatives with cities from all over the world. There's a great example, which is the network of creative cities to which Braga belongs. And actually, we hosted last year the annual summit, and we gathered nearly 300 cities and 700 representatives from all over the world, which are cities which are committed with the use of culture as a source of inclusiveness, of sustainability, of creativity, of improvement of the level of the education and capacity building of our citizens. And so this also links with the economic development of our territories. And for instance, you know that my city, Braga, which is currently the fast growing city in my country, Portugal, relies a lot in the cultural development that we have been fostering in recent years. It's not only about economic development, but it also links a lot and the capacity that we had to attract and to retain a lot of talent from the city, from the country, and from abroad with the cultural investment that we made. Because this links a lot with the quality of life that we provide to our citizens. And probably that was also why in that summit that we hosted from the UNESCO, the joint statement, the Braga Manifesto, called for the autonomization of culture as a standalone goal in the revision of the Sustainable Development Goals after 2030, because actually culture is really, and Eurocities through Lyon and other cities has also invested a lot in this field, is also indeed a crucial element in strengthening the international cooperation and in strengthening the development of each of our territories. And that is why Braga, which is currently the Portuguese capital of culture, and it was a finalist to the European Capital of Culture Award for 2027, also invests a lot in the cultural dimension.
I was just looking at the clock, and it's so frustrating to see that we are out of time, because these were the shortest 40 minutes in a long time. So thank you for bringing so much inspiration and so much passion and so much commitment to this topic. I would like just to give you the floor one more time for short closing remarks. If there's anything that you would like to leave our audience with, maybe we can do this as we started. Mr. Turan, just a short closing remark.
Based on my experience at the local level, working with the people, as you said, human-centered, day-to-day business, very close to the people. I would say that any politician who aspires to be a politician at the national level should start with the local level first. This is a great learning experience, and I think with that experience, we would have much better politicians at the national level to solve our problems. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Mr. Sobchak.
I completely agree with this. And for example, we have done a study at Eurocities about what the members of the European Parliament did before. And I'm very happy that now we have 1/3 of the members of the European Parliament that had some kind of political role at the local level before. And we can already see that it's a difference, because then the MEPs are closer to realities and indeed are also more open to continue to discuss with cities. I would add, of course, that I wish everybody a nice Europe Day, and I really hope that our event has contributed indeed to make sure that we don't forget about Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is still in prison, and that we make sure that in the future the national government will take into account that there is a movement not only in Turkey but also all over Europe and all over the world of people that say you need to respect the rule of law, you need to respect democracy, you need to respect the people in Istanbul, and you need to release the mayor. And I hope that we have a small contribution to this with our event.
Thank you so very much. Mayor Rio.
Well, thanks, Minola. I'll start by apologizing to the ones that have already listened to me saying this, but I have to recall that the Global Parliament of Mayors is a network that was inspired in the book by an American author, Benjamin Barber, which was named If Mayors Rule the World. And what I have to say is that mayors don't want to rule the world. Mayors don't need to rule the world, but mayors need to be engaged in the shape of the global policies and in the implementation of global policies in the benefit of the global goals and our citizens. And that's why I call for all the representatives from local authorities to collaborate, to engage, to participate in networks like the ones that are represented here, and to continue to defend democracy and our own population. And obviously, happy Europe Day to everyone, and my warmest regards to Mayor İmamoğlu and strength to his situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I just respond by thanking both Mayor Rio and Mr. Sobchak for their very kind support and solidarity to our mayor. It means a lot to us, and to Mayor İmamoğlu, I will convey all these messages to him, and he will be very happy. And I also wish a very happy Europe Day to everyone who listened to us. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Turan, Mr. Sobchak, and Mayor Rio. Thank you for celebrating Europe Day with us. Thank you, Mina, for having me, and a wholehearted, happy, hopeful Europe Day to all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and happy Europe Day to you all. Thank you for being with us today. It meant a lot of your presence, and with the summit being on the significant day of Europe Day, and all of you supporting our cause. Our mayor, who is in prison, but he is listening to us. He is going to hear all of our voices. He is going to feel the support, and that means a lot to us. So thank you. And for the last session, we have a very special session where we will be hearing the voices of the youth, the voices of the citizens. Since morning, we were saying that the power is in the citizens. So the mayors were saying that the citizens are the boss. They are the voices of true democracy. And true democracy starts from ground up. So now it's my pleasure to call on to stage Sarah, who was the MC of the Global Startup Awards, supported by the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality back in September. So Sarah, thank you for accepting my invitation to be the moderator for this special and important session. Welcome.
Thank you, Mina. It has been a very important and exciting summit. So welcome all to the Youth and Citizen Voices panel. Today, we will explore how youth voices are not only being heard, but they are also shaping real strategies in business, governance, and the civil society. So let's welcome Ege, Mart, and Ezgi to the stage. We will start with Ege. Okay, Ege. Let's talk about the importance of listening to Gen Z and how companies and cities need to actively integrate youth perspectives into their strategies.
Yeah, okay. So we like starting this little concept by capitalizing on what makes Gen Z a little different, or what makes youth a little different today. Gen Z, we believe, is the first generation to be born into the age of information. So basically, ever since they were kids, ever since we were kids, we had access, unfiltered access to any and every information that we wanted to get our hands on, which gave this generation a perspective where once we know what's really possible for us to get from what's out there, creating a unified field for us to actually look for what we want, actually detect what we need, and actually understand what is the fair practices among the world. This enables this generation to actually have requests from companies or businesses to actually meet these standards that they have set for themselves. And they're not reluctant to look elsewhere when those needs are not met. But we also believe this is not just like a small, insignificant statistic that's based on Gen Z, but this actually creates a blueprint for the modern person who has access to all the information in the world and has the capacity to judge what they want and need. And if we don't really integrate these ideas into the strategies and into the actions of ourselves, we will soon alienate the up and coming generations from our practices. That's basically what we base our ideas on when we talk about how companies and cities should listen to Gen Z, because the idea is not about what they want for themselves, but rather about the standard of which they see that they can thrive in within the world, and they want that for themselves. So this generation is basically just trying to create an environment for themselves where they can be heard, where they can actually express themselves, where they can live as equals amongst their peers all across the world, as opposed to just their local geography.
Thank you, Ege. Great insights. So, over to Mart. Mart, can you share how you're making youth integration a reality through rework and the systems you're building to ensure young voices influence outcomes?
Sure. So first of all, I'd like to say Happy Europe Day to everyone. And thank you, Minette and Sarah, for inviting me to be a part of this important conversation. It's really nice to be here with so many leaders committed to changing making more inclusive, democratic, and innovative cities. My name is Mart, and I'm a founding member and head of innovation at the Future of Work Alliance. I also work at Rework, a company that helps cities and organizations uncover who they are really serving and how to improve them. We live in an age where data is everywhere, yet the voices that matter the most are the least visible in decision making. As mayors, city leaders, and strategists, the pressure to move fast, fix big problems, and future-proof our cities has never been greater. But how can we make better decisions if we don't fully understand the shifting needs, behaviors, and aspirations of our people, especially those whose futures we are planning for? At Rework, we believe that what we build is only ever as strong as who we build it with. That's why we focus on crowdsourcing data directly from communities, local networks, young people, not as a side input, but as the very foundation of the insight that we gather. We ask questions like, what are the emerging patterns that cities often miss? Or what are people doing despite our systems, not because of them? We have built a simple, research-based and repeatable process that unlocks civic intelligence in as short as a week. By collecting real-time input from tens of thousands of people, we are able to generate hyper-local understanding and solve problems faster, more accurately, and more affordably than traditional methods. Our digital interview is a personalized tool that helps understand each person's unique experience, capturing nuance at scale, and has supported our research across over 1 million people in cities, universities, and organizations all around the world. We translate this insight into actionable steps to support leaders and inform decision-making in areas like urban planning, culture and major projects, public service, workplaces, and economic development. It's less about asking what the future of work and cities will be, and more about uncovering what's already happening on the ground that we can build from. This approach empowers city leaders to design more adaptive, human-centered systems, because when we crowdsource knowledge, we unlock civic intelligence. When we listen deeper at the local level, we make better decisions at the global one. And when we include youth in the process, we don't just design with tomorrow in mind, we design through the eyes of those who will live it. So the question I leave you with today isn't what should we build next? It's who are we really building with, and how can we hear them better? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mart. Yes, innovation is very, very important for our world. And Ezgi, as an independent youth voice, can you please tell about the kind of future you envision?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. Almost closing this truly inspiring summit, I'd like to express my view in this climate as a 28-year-old Turkish woman who graduated from the top schools here and who believed people were inherently good growing up. I had lost hope until the recent movement to resist the ongoing injustice in Turkey. I was questioning what to do. Do I go? Do I stay? Would it even make any difference? My hard-earned diploma can be taken away. All the work, the time, money, energy I've invested can be gone in a second. Criminals are pardoned from prisons or never even see justice. Meanwhile, my peers, friends, are in jail merely for practicing their right to speech, tortured and abused. I'm doing the same as them here. I had lost hope. However, seeing the leaders here, seeing my friends continue with me, chanting in the streets, it gives me hope. You give me hope. Talking, discussing is important, but we need you to do more, act more. If you cannot be in the streets with us, make those streets safe for us. Stand with us. I want to be sleeping in peace instead of being anxious that I could be the next in an Operation Dawn. From this very speech, actually. Alliance means nothing if we continue being unsafe in our homes. In this fast-moving world, we need systems in place to reach for support easily. There could be a toolkit or knowledge hub on civic resilience and democratic innovation. There could be standing alliances or working groups, and most importantly, a declaration, a Cities for Democracy declaration co-signed by the mayors. Thank you for being open to hearing us and all your work. A brighter future can be ahead of us if we take aligned action. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ezgi, for all your remarks. So thank you all. As we have heard today, youth perspectives are vital. Let's keep making space at the table. And over to you, Mine. Thank you very much for this beautiful summit for hope.
Thank you, everyone. This was really valuable, precious to hear from the youth and our future, because youth is the future. Youth is actually not the future, but the now. And hearing it, the power and feeling that vibe meant a lot. So I would like to thank all of you for being part of this significant event today. So we are now coming to the end of our summit today. And dear friends, esteemed mayors, speakers, participants, we are now coming to the end of our virtual summit, Cities for Democracy, Innovation and Summit. So I would like to express my heartfelt thanks, not just for your presence, but your voices, your vision, your solidarity. Today is the Europe Day, Happy Europe Day. So we came together here across geographies, institutions, the roles, united by one shared belief that democracy must be protected, not only in the parliaments, not only in the city halls, but in our neighborhoods, in the classrooms, on the streets. And that the cities now, they are more than ever are where this protection begins. So we heard from our inspiring mayors who lead with inclusion, courage, humbleness, from activists, civic innovators who push boundaries for justice and participation, and from the institutional partners who are building bridges across borders. And please stay tuned, we will be building more bridges between these cities. We stood together today, not to speak about democracy, but to practice it through dialogue, listening, and co-creation. For us, for the Istanbulites, this summit carries a deeper meaning. So it was really important that you were with us today, because this happened at a time when democratic space is narrowing for us, when our elected leaders face political obstacles and unjust pressures. This gathering, this summit today, has served as a reminder that Istanbul is not alone, that Istanbulites are not alone. We have other cities with us. We have the civic innovation with us today. So that around the world, there are mayors, communities, citizens who believe in truth, in fairness, and in the power of local leadership to shape a better future. And to those of you who couldn't speak today, I know you wanted to be here today, but because of where you were or like your busy schedules, we will carry your voices forward. And let this not be the end, but the beginning of everything. Let this summit today mark the formation of the lasting connection, stronger alliances, and a deeper commitment to each other. Because we know that in every resilient city, in every act of civic participation, and in every moment we choose cooperation over silence, democracy lives on. So thank you once again for standing with us. Thank you for believing in cities. And thank you for believing that hope, when shared, becomes action. See you soon in solidarity and in progress. Have a wonderful day and happy Europe Day, everyone. Thank you.